Set boundaries even with tears in your eyes. Even if walking away from a situation, leaving a person, saying no to something makes you so deeply upset and hurts you so badly, you have to respect yourself more. I just thought of that, like saying or putting it that way, like setting boundaries with tears in your eyes is sometimes what you have to do in life when you respect yourself. I think our heart and our brain obviously tell us different things most of the time. Your heart could be telling you, but even though they did this and this and this, I still love them and we can make this work. Or even though my friend said this about me, I know she didn't mean it, and blah, 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 blah. Set boundaries. Walk away with tears in your eyes. Your self-respect has to come first every single time. I used to be such a people pleaser that would stick around in situations and, you slap me on this cheek, I'll turn so you can slap this cheek. Like, I was that type of person. And living that way truly is so exhausting. You feel like you have no voice and your opinion doesn't matter. At a certain point, I was like, actually, no. I have boundaries now. I have self-respect. And I'm at a point now where I've truly put so much time into that and have done so much work on myself that I will walk away.
To my recovering people pleasers, before you relapse and people please again, sit back and ask yourself, when was the last time the people pleased you?
Hey friend, welcome to my channel, Karina with Mental Gems. This channel is dedicated to leveling up in all areas of your life. So let us learn together, read together, but most importantly, grow together. Now, without further ado, let's get into this video. So today's video is all about boundaries. We as ex and recovering people pleasers have to implement ASAP. Like, you have to implement these. These are just 3. And especially 3 of the ones that I find that I struggled with the most as an ex and recovering people pleaser. Like I said, there's still residuals. Last year, that's all we talked about, but this here is the residuals that comes after that we need to be wary of and get a strong hold of, okay? The number 1 for me that I have here is, before saying yes or agreeing to a plan, take a breather, think about it. Yeah, one thing with people pleasers is we say yes a lot. We don't know how to say no. That's what we're recovering from. And the thing is, we move really quickly as well. We do not hesitate. We do not pause. We make decisions pretty quickly based on, if I'm in a good mood, I may agree to a plan while I'm in a good mood in the moment, or I want to make the person smile or be happy or, look like such a good, helpful person. And then I overextend myself. And when the time comes, now you're trying to find ways out of it. You're praying to God that they cancel the plan. You're praying to God that something happened that you can say no. And it's better to just take a pause and not say anything at all. It's better to move slowly before making any decision, before saying anything, making sure that you're not overextending yourself or saying yes too quickly. That is really something that a lot of us do.
All right, here's my boundary baddie guidelines for my recovering people pleasers out there. Rule number 1, remove maybe from your vocabulary. I know as a people pleaser, you might think maybe is a soft no, but absolutely not. People do not catch on. That is a gray area, and it leaves room for people to convince you to do something that you might not want to do. Which leads me to point number 2. If you're unsure, just say no. You can always say yes later. Point number 3, check in with yourself before answering. Boundary baddies put themselves first. You want to give yourself time to process and make sure you're not just agreeing to something because you're in a good mood. Point number 4, commit. If you established a boundary, no matter what the boundary is, commit to the boundary. Do not allow people to convince or negotiate your boundary. Point number 5, if you feel as if this person will always give you resistance or has always given you resistance when you set a boundary, evaluate if you will want that person in your life. Then point number 6, being direct is not mean, and you can do it with grace. Boundary baddies know this is just you advocating for yourself and your needs.
You will survive the discomfort of someone being upset with you, hurt by something you said, not happy with what you did, disappointed in your work, maybe your performance, whatever it may be. You will survive the discomfort of someone else not being happy with you. They are allowed to feel their feelings, you're allowed to feel your feelings, and you will get through it. How they feel about you in this moment as well does not define your character or who you are in general. It's one moment in time. It's one moment in time. It's one thing you said or did. It's not your whole character. You're okay.
People pleasers, y'all need to practice letting other people be uncomfortable. When someone acts inappropriately or crosses a line with you, practice letting them be uncomfortable when you call their behavior out. Let them feel weird. Let them regret their actions. Let them be uncomfortable. You don't have to make it all feel better by smoothing over the tension. Sometimes it makes sense for people to feel bad about how they acted, and it's not your job to save them from that.
So check this out. That people-pleasing part of you is very helpful. It's been helpful in ensuring that other people's needs are met, ensuring that they're pleased, they're taken care of for a variety of different reasons. When you think about boundaries, remember this. Boundaries are never meant to control other people. They're never meant to hurt other people. They're never meant to create cutoff culture and all that kind of stuff. It's really meant to ensure that you are okay. At the same time, you're making sure other people are okay. So if you have a people-pleasing part of you, or you used to, love on that part. It is so caring. It is so compassionate. It is ensuring that other people are okay. Now we just want you to give that same energy to you. Selflessness is not a bad thing. Just make sure that you're not forgetting about yourself at the end of the day.
And as people pleasers tend to fall into gossiping a lot, or they fall into storytelling, lying, or fall into, all in the guise of being entertaining, being pleasing. And yeah, you have to be very careful with that. Talking too much, period. There's a Bible verse I love that says, with excess words comes sin. And I love that. And this Proverbs all throughout the Bible, the Lord tells us to, basically not talk. Like, our mouths, our tongues can be tools of destruction for us, especially if you struggle with people pleasing. You'll find yourself in that. So take a pause even before you speak, even before you get into a phone conversation, especially if you struggle with, I hate talking on the phone because I don't necessarily always know how to get off the phone with people. So one thing I'll do before even getting on the phone, already have your exit plan on how you're going to get out of the conversation. Already give yourself that pep talk. I pray. It be that bad. And these are real issues that real people deal with. Some of you guys are like, oh my goodness, y'all so extreme. Y'all going through all that. It's never that serious. Just get off the phone. But for some people, it's that bad. And in another video that I'll do next week, well, it won't be uploaded next week, but I'll record it next week to upload in a future day, is why are we even people pleasers? What leads to that? Like the psychology of that, because it really does a damage.
People pleasers usually start out as parent pleasers. If you grew up in a household where your parents were pretty authoritative and were pretty clear, like, I don't care how you feel about it, you have to do it, period. And if they ever got really triggered or mad at you, if they just gave you the silent treatment, just kind of pretend like you didn't exist, pulled their love away, if you were trying to get their attention, they just ignored you, this can cause people pleasing. And honestly, same with things like spanking or smacking, taking away pretty vital things to you, whether it's your friends, food, whatever. All of this can very deeply ingrain people pleasing into your fight or flight system, because you gotta stay safe. And if that means placating and pleasing everybody in the room, fine, I'm gonna do it because I need to stay connected to my friends and get my dinner. But often when you grew up in an environment like that, you just learn to kind of disconnect from your needs if you know that they're not going to be met. You just focus more on making sure everybody else is happy. And sometimes people can describe this as a little bit manipulative, this whole people-pleasing process of I'm going to change my behavior to control the way that you think about me, is honestly what is required for a lot of people to have their needs met. They have to scrape and scrounge just to have some of their most basic needs met, even if the need is just peace. And this can be a very hard reflex to turn off, especially if you've been doing it since a tiny child. Again, it's wired into your brain. It's your knee-jerk reaction. But I just want to say that there is hope for changing some of these behaviors. And sometimes you just got to catch yourself on the back end. You say yes to something that you don't really want, and you're like, actually, hold on. Now that I think about it, no, I can't. And you take it back, okay? You take back your time, your energy, your power. You start to reconnect to, what do I actually like? What do I want to do for me? Sometimes this is a big question for people that they've never asked themselves. And if you haven't asked yourself these questions, it's time to reconnect with the inner child that didn't get to play enough. What do I like to do? What do I want to do?
Everyone always talks about the importance of setting boundaries, but nobody ever talks about how to get through the really difficult part of setting boundaries. It feels like you are in physical pain simply for advocating for your own needs. And that's exactly what we are going to cover today. The first thing that you need to know is that your brain has been conditioned. Somewhere along the line, your brain learned that the best way for you to receive love and acceptance from your caregivers and peers was to abandon your own needs. This is exactly why setting boundaries feels so bad, because what's actually good for you feels bad to your brain due to your early conditioning. The good news is the same principles that created the problem we can use to solve the problem. And these principles are rooted in something we call operant conditioning and also neuroplasticity, which is your brain's ability to form new neural connections and neural pathways throughout your lifespan. And I'm not calling you a dog or an animal, but we are going to use the same sort of training principles used to train animals to retrain your brain to set boundaries. And here's how we're gonna do it. The first thing we're gonna do it is with practice and repetition. I don't care how many times you have to practice it with somebody you love, with somebody you trust, with your therapist, in the mirror, by recording yourself. I want you to actively practice asserting yourself and standing up for yourself, because each time you practice, you're strengthening neural pathways associated with this behavior. And the second and most important part of this process is to reward yourself after you set a boundary, because we want to have our brains associate boundary setting with positive stimuli instead of negative stimuli, because for so long our brains have been associating standing up for ourselves with a stress response, with a fear response. For example, let's say you set a boundary and afterward you feel awful. We're going to validate that we did a good thing for ourselves, and then we're going to give ourselves a very small reward. Instead of triggering stress, it's going to trigger a reward expectation. This process takes time because it took decades to get you to be the way you are, so it's not going to happen overnight. And the last thing I want you to do is pay attention to who becomes the most agitated by you asserting yourself and sticking up for yourself and setting boundaries, because those are usually the people that benefited from you not having any in the first place, and they gotta go.
But yeah, it is that bad that you have to come up with exit plans to get out of conversations or sticky situations that you yourself keep placing yourself in. It really is that bad. It goes along with the tongue that I add, which is the second thing, is not participating in slandering, gossiping, or anything like that, okay? People pleasers love to be cool, accepted, validated. They want to be a part of the conversation. And oftentimes the conversation is not pleasant. It could be about somebody else. It could be talking about things that you know nothing about. You have to learn as a people pleaser to, sit this one out with the gossiping. You have to learn to, you don't know everything with answering questions. It don't even have to be gossiping. Because let's say for me, one of my biggest struggles was I had to have an answer for everything. Whether it was in school, somebody came to me for help with an assignment, I had to know the answer. Whether it's Bible related, I feel like I disappointed or let the person down if I couldn't answer or didn't know this. And so it leads sometimes to me just saying my own stuff, like creating a truth. And we do not do that with God. We do not do that with God. But with school, I'll create answers that are true. Like I could even convince the teacher that my answer was the right one, and just using too many words. And it's okay to not know. It's okay to not know. I've since learned that. Praise God for that. It's okay to not have the answers. It's okay to not have something to say, not have a response. You don't have to be the know-it-all. You don't have to please people with a response. You can bless people with your silence. My best friend always liked to say that, she blesses people with her silence all the time. It's just, you sit there, your presence is enough. You're enough, okay? Because that's the thing with people pleasers. They never think they're enough. Your presence is enough. You don't have to feel every dead air or dead space, because I used to be so uncomfortable when it's too quiet, and I felt like the burden of conversation was on me, but it's not, because the other person's quiet too. If they're quiet, maybe they want some quiet time to reflect. You don't have to fill up every dead air, dead space. This is what happens with gossiping. And I believe either Peter or Paul, I'll find the verse to put up here for you guys, but he was saying in the Bible that for the women that are young, that are widows at a young age, to get married, because you become busybodies, gossiping, having nothing to do, and then you fall into sin. So that's another thing. And the third one is when someone crosses or destroys your boundaries, you have to learn to speak up if someone offends you. We oftentimes, as recovering people pleasers, people talk to you crazy, say something crazy, cross a line. You just kind of for the good of everything, I'll let it go all the time. And not all the time is that okay, because we oftentimes train people to mistreat us.
This is the reason that the boundaries you try to set are not working. Because you say to someone, this is my boundary and I need you to respect it. And then they don't respect it. And then you feel stuck. and you don't know what to do, so you rescind the boundary and you say your boundaries just don't work. Boundaries don't tell other people what to do. They tell other people the actions you are willing to take to keep yourself safe and healthy. So you can't set a boundary with a consequence you're not willing or able to enforce. That's not a boundary. The first time you state your boundary is in the form of a request, but you have to know in the back of your head the actions that you are willing to take should the other person prove incapable or unwilling to respect your limit. You always have the power to hold a boundary. And if it's not within your power, then it's not a boundary.
Ghosting someone isn't putting up a boundary. Silent treatment isn't a boundary. And trying to get someone to do something that you want him or her to do in order for him or her to change isn't a boundary.
Just because someone has a negative reaction to your boundaries doesn't mean you did it wrong. Some people will always be threatened by your boundaries because it makes you a whole lot harder to control and manipulate, doesn't it? And isn't it funny how you're called immature and rude when you leave a conversation because they were yelling at you or calling you stupid or being blatantly disrespectful? And yet somehow it's your boundaries that caused the problem. Somehow you're giving up on them or not loving them. Yeah, or it was because you knew you didn't deserve to be yelled at or belittled. The truth is, some people will never be capable of the self-reflection, personal accountability, and emotional maturity necessary for a safe, healthy relationship. Your job is to make sure you can recognize when they try to convince you that you're the problem for asking for the bare minimum levels of respect and kindness even during a conflict. Because it seems to me that healthy boundaries are only a threat to unhealthy people.
You can't make comments about my weight. If you comment on my weight, I will disregard it completely and change the subject. You need to show up on time for dinner. If you are late, we will start dinner without you. You have to stop giving the kids sweets without my permission. If you give the kids sweets without my permission, I will no longer leave them with you unattended. You can't keep pressuring me to drink with you. If you pressure me to drink with you, I will politely leave. You need to be less selfish. I'd like you to consider these things, but if you don't, that's okay. But I will no longer continue to invest in this relationship. You can't keep showing up unannounced. If you show up unannounced, I will not answer the door. You better not ask me personal questions in front of the whole family. If you bring up personal questions in front of the family, I will politely decline to answer and change the subject.
Sometimes you have to be a little disrespectful to show them just how respectful you've been. Listen to that again.
And for my recovering people pleasers, let's talk about what's not disrespect. Respecting your boundaries, that's not disrespectful. Not letting people walk all over you, that's not disrespectful. Having a backbone and standing up to people, that's not disrespectful. Valuing yourself, your worth, your time, your energy, that's not disrespectful. Limiting access to people that no longer deserve you, that's not disrespectful. I say all of this because when I decided to start establishing boundaries in a lot of my unhealthy relationships in the past, whether that was at work, family, friends, school, or romantic partners, I was labeled as mean and I was told, oh, you're not the same, you've changed, you're acting brand new, you're acting different. Yeah, I am, because why do I want to let you disrespect me? That's stupid. And this is why I believe in telling people how you feel. Of course, exercise situational awareness. And if you have to put it on your to-do list for later, make sure you actually handle it later, because people will do to you what you allow them to. A lot of times we brush stuff off and we push things to the side thinking that if we just let it slide, they won't do it again. Sometimes you think if you just tell someone nicely or politely, they won't do it again. No, with some people, you just have to be very direct. And if they try to cross that line again, you just got to cut them off. Per my last email is not disrespectful, because if you were smart enough to read, you would know that I said this 30 minutes ago. That's not hostile. That's not you overreacting. That's you showing people that they should pay attention, because how many times have you said this? People think that we're supposed to constantly repeat ourselves. If you don't feel like it, you don't have to. Telling somebody, don't talk to me that way, that's not being disrespectful. Telling someone that they need to be held accountable for their actions, that's not disrespectful. Returning the same energy that somebody gave to you first, that's not disrespectful. And a lot of people will convince you that you're being disrespectful because they're not used to you standing up for yourself. Your body even plays tricks on you sometimes, because I know for me, when I first started establishing boundaries, I would get cold sweats, I would have heart palpitations, I would literally internally be freaking out, because any time that I tried to establish a boundary with a toxic person that showed me that they were toxic, they always had a very negative reaction. And silly little old me would continue to try to get them to respect my boundaries for extensive periods of time where it was just a waste because they never did, and I just needed to cut them off. One good getting them together, and if they don't get it, never speak to them again. And sometimes that one time that you get them together, that needs to be the last time that you speak to them. Because if you allow people to disrespect you, you're not respecting yourself. In fact, you are disrespecting yourself by sitting through someone else's disrespect that you do not deserve. Again, time, place, situational awareness, all of those play a factor in these situations. But it is your responsibility to teach people how to treat you. And the only way you can really do that is if you know how to treat yourself. And for a lot of us, that takes copious amounts of life lessons. I mean, I have had to reach some very low lows in order to treat myself better so that I would know what I will not be allowing in my life. But standing up for yourself, that's not disrespectful. If you're a recovering people pleaser and never want to revert back to your old ways, here are a list of things that you should never do again. One-sided relationships of any kind. Are they paying you for that free therapy that you've been giving them? Do they love you? Do they value you? Do they even respect you? Because you're giving them advice that they're not taking. You're listening to all of their problems that they don't want to solve. And yet anytime you speak about anything that you've been through, you're going through, or that's bothering you, you get dismissed, minimized, invalidated, and devalued. You get told to just let it go and move on. If you're done with people pleasing, let them go and move on. Because anyone that diminishes what you have been through, what you were dealing with, and what life is for you, while simultaneously expecting you to be there through all of their problems, some of which you have personally watched them induce upon themselves, and you're supporting them religiously, like to the core, while they're just feeding off of you, that's still people pleasing. Just because we can empathize with and understand other people's trauma, and have the capacity and the unlimited ability to be there for people the way that people have not been there for us, that does not mean that you should extend yourself to people that don't care about you. Everyone wants to be heard, seen, validated, and valued. We have all been through a lot. And sometimes people do not have the capacity to give. But if the reason why someone is not giving to you what you are giving to them is because they don't respect you, and you find them brushing off everything that you have been through, telling you to just let it go, get over it, when they're not over anything that they've been through at all, that's a toxic one-sided relationship that will leave you bitter, resentful, and angry. And it will only get worse the more you continue to talk to them. So stop. Which brings me to my next thing. Overextending yourself when you don't have the capacity. Giving your last to people that don't appreciate it, simply because you believe in other people more than you believe in yourself. As a recovering people pleaser, the circumstances of my life have been terrible, so there have been many points in my life where I have poured way more into other people than myself because I have felt like at times there was absolutely no hope for me. We live in a capitalistic society, and when you have debt, that looms over your head every single day that you cannot pay a bill. But if you are constantly giving your last to people that do not care about you, and that are there to just drain your energy and feed off of you, that continues the cycle of people pleasing. Stop it. And another thing that you should stop is sweetening everything up for everybody else because you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Stop caring about other people's feelings when you care about your own boundaries. Who cares if they get mad? You've been super respectful, you were very direct, you were very polite. So what if they caught an attitude? They can catch that attitude by themselves. Because there is no rule book that says that we actually have to deal with this. Which also means that you have to stop manipulating and gaslighting yourself into believing that you have to have these people in your life just because no one has been there for you, that you wanted there for you, like how you have been there for them and like how society told you these people were going to be there for you. Our loneliness, our trauma, our pain, it's not an excuse to constantly let the same type of person in our lives, just for us to be upset about it and remind us of all the trauma that we worked very hard to get away from. At some point, you have to cut everyone off, including the version of you that allows it to happen.
It's okay. It's okay to be like, hey, I didn't like this. It's not a sin. Because even Paul in the Bible, he called Peter basically two-faced. He called him a hypocrite, right? He told him, hey, you're acting one way with the Jews and another way with the Gentiles, which is hypocritical. And he was even like, hey, I'm not going to travel with this person anymore on the missionary work because they left me behind. Like Paul was always calling people out. He was always calling people out. And the apostles did that with each other. As Christians, we tend to feel like, you know, it's a sin to say when something hurt our feelings or bother us or call people out. Like, no, call people out. I'm all for that. Hey, let me talk to you real quick. Why did you do that? I didn't really like that. I didn't understand that. Set that boundary also, whether it's in your friendships, your marriage, your work, church, family, wherever you're at. Always be willing to communicate when something didn't quite sit right with you. The bonus and basically the main one is setting boundaries, like having stuff down that you know bothers you and being clear with it. Because one thing is with people pleasers, they don't know how to set clear boundaries. They don't even know what their boundaries are. Discovering what your boundaries even are. I had to do that. I found out for me, one of the main things that kept pissing me off or feeling like disrespected often would be if I'm going somewhere with someone and constantly being late, and I would hold resentment for that long. And Sometimes a person don't really fully understand that that is like a boundary for you, or that is something that really like is a pet peeve to that strong degree because you're not expressing it effectively. I'll end up talking under my breath or just going by myself, writing solo, being resentful, like building up resentment. A lot of times people pleasing does become a sin in itself because we can put pleasing others before God, but also creating and building a lot of resentment within for stuff that we don't need to be resentful about if we just spoke about it. Like, hey, this is a pet peeve of mine. I really don't like this. And the next time that, because it's been consistent, if you're going to be, we say we have a meeting at 4 and you're going to show up at 5, I will never have a meeting with you again. That's your boundary. And then keep with that. If we say we're going somewhere and the thing starts at 5, that's not when I plan to leave the house with you. Leave that as a boundary. And if the person crosses it again, then you act because that is your boundary. You have to affirm that. No matter how cruel, how harsh, how mean it sounds, that's how people learn to respect you too, because they teach you how to respect them. If they don't respect your boundaries, then you're going to be respecting their lack of respect for you. Trust me, people test and push to see how far they can go all the time. And if you constantly always letting stuff slide, you're showing them respect and disrespecting you. You're showing them that there is respect in disrespecting you. And you have to show people that, no, this is what I said I'm going to do. And the Bible says that let your yes be yes, your no be no. Do what you say you will do. Do not be double-minded. Like, it is what it is. Like, a lot of people don't take us seriously as people pleasers because we'll say we're going to do something and don't do it. A lot of people be in relationships as people pleasers too. How many women you know will be in a relationship and then the woman will be in the relationship and be like, you got one more time to cheat on me and I'm leaving. He cheats on you, you stayed. Oh, if you do this, you don't stick to what you said. And then you're in a cycle and you see the constant disrespect. If you say, you got to be careful what you say too. You got to be careful what you say too, because that's what teaches respect. A lot of you guys want to throw the threats out of fear, hey, to make him afraid. If I ever catch my man cheating, oh yeah, if I ever catch you cheating, I'm done. I'm this, I'm that. You're saying that out of hoping that they'll be so afraid they'll never cheat on you. And then you said the first time I'm out. Be careful what you say. The first time he does it for real, you're here. He's going to do it again because you stayed, no matter how sorry he is the first time. Even if you didn't catch him yet, you think, no, he actually changed. You just ain't catch him yet. You just ain't. He just got better at hiding it. He learned from the first time. Just like kids when we were rebellious. So it's better to just be like, you know what? Honestly, I don't know what I would do, but it would break my heart so much. I think it would hurt me a lot, and it probably would change our relationship forever. But I'm not quite sure. I probably would leave. I probably would try to understand the nature of it. I'm not sure. Hopefully, we never have to experience that for you to find out. Leave it like that. You know what I mean? Instead of saying you're going to do something and don't. If you know for certain, like me, I'm talking junk, but I'll be like, hey, next time we're late to XYZ, I'm just going to ride by myself. I say that. And then the next time we're late, I still come the next week to ride with the person. Do you think they're ever going to take me seriously or care for what I said? Absolutely not. They're like, oh, Kareen always talk like that. She'll get over it. And then now they feel like it's something they can constantly do. But if you actually stay home and you're like, I'm just going to ride by myself, do this, do that, blah, 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 keep my time. Or you're in the meeting, you're waiting for your friends to show up for a brunch date you have. And you see, hey, we all said 4 o'clock we're meeting. It's 4:30 now. It's 5 o'clock. Leave. Because that's what you said you would do. That's what you said you would do. When they show up, they all could be like, oh, she's so annoying. Did she really leave? Did she? Yes, because respect my time. That is my pet peeve. That's my boundary. And even if you're weird, don't invite me nowhere else. They'll just have to do things without you. Next time they know, okay, we're about to meet up with Kareen. We know how she is with time. People will make more of an effort to be on time, you know? I know. So you got to even know what your boundaries are so that you can make a list of that to make sure you don't cross them. And then be careful with your words and don't just say stuff. Because as people, you don't even got to be a people pleaser to say things and then not actually follow through with it. Just like with a kid, if you say you're going to get pop out if you do that, you got to give the pop out. when you said you're going to give it, because kids will continue to test that boundary, right? Like I'm thinking of whatever, little kids are like, they be trying, they be testing just to see, and they know who to play with. I'm the soft auntie, so they don't listen to me. But some of the aunties, the other ones, be like, if you don't go to bed at this time, I'm gonna come in that room and I'm gonna give you pop out. And guess what? They be knocked out. I'll make the same threat and none of them care because they know they're not gonna get a pop out from me for real. That's how people are. People love to test people. If you allow yourself to be used, people will use you. We do it all the time. I did a video where I said, when you're about to call someone for a favor, you as a person, ask yourself, will you go through your phone and call the person you know would be least likely to pick up? You would not. You would call the person that you know would be most likely to pick up, the person that would come through. And then the people that you know for sure might not pick up or is going to say no because of habit and history, they're last on your list when you need a favor. And I always say, stop trying to be the first on people's list, because we take advantage of people that are always first on the list. You have to be busy and have your own stuff going on, your own boundaries, that you're not always the first person people call all the time. You know, we as people take advantage of people naturally without even thinking about it. We make these lists in our minds. We know we'll be able to say, and it don't mean they're bad people. The person that's last on the list for us, we don't always see them as the bad people. We have other factors where we know this person will tell us no if they don't have it. But there are some people we know that will tell us yes, even if we have an inkling that they don't really have it. They're going through it. Some people will still use that person because they're like, I know they're still going to find a way. And then they're relaxing while you go make a way to not only come through for them, but come through for yourself. They're sitting and waiting because they put you on the case. I've witnessed people say things like, oh, Korean's on the case, so I know I'm good. I could rest. I could relax. And it's like, wait, I'm staying up late, killing myself, trying to figure out how I'm going to get these coins to do X, Y, Z. And you're chilling because you just put me as a lead person to figure it out. Yeah, don't be the first. Don't be the first. Step back when you start to feel like, hey, I'm doing too much. Let's not do that. So set those boundaries. Know what your boundaries are. Stick to them. Do not negotiate them. And then always pray that the Lord strengthen you as well to uphold your boundaries. And whatever you said that you're not going to do, respect yourself. If you say no intimacy or this, or you tell a guy, hey, I'm not being intimate, I'm not doing those things, blah, 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 blah. And then you allow him to touch you and do all these things. Eventually, you're going to see yourself doing exactly what you told him you weren't going to do, because he tested your boundaries to see how far he could go, and you never stopped him. You got to learn how to stop people before they even get started. These are boundaries that you set in place. Hey, you're too touchy. I don't like that. Like, speak up. I already told you I'm not doing that. The way you're being touchy, that's not that. A lot of women end up, you know, in the hood, there used to be these house parties, block parties, or these parties. It used to just be these parties. And a lot of girls would end up in sticky situations, getting touched without their permission, and situations where the laws had to get involved. Simply because in the moment, they told the person, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not But then they kept allowing the person to touch their thigh, rub on their thigh, touch their back. Because the person, no, I'm hitting that. And they'll be older than because they'll be like, there was no reason these young girls should have been at this party, you know? The people were bad, let's just say that. But it'll be like people in their 30s talking to 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds at parties. And yeah, it ended up sticky because unfortunately the child felt like, how do I say no? I already set my boundaries the minute that they're touching your thigh. No. And then they learn from that age that, okay, this is when I get up, I leave, or don't stick around when someone already shows me that they're testing because people will test you. If you say you don't like gossip, and they're like, girl, I know we don't be gossiping, but girl, did you hear? You're testing my boundaries, and then you exit out of it, you know? So it's the same with that. Like, there's a lot of sticky situations like that because people don't know how to walk out ahead of time and be like, hey, I see that what you're doing. Like, see people for who they are and what they're trying to do. and destroying you. But I love you guys so much. Thank you for watching. Let me know what boundaries as an ex-people pleaser that you set that you're like, this is absolutely non-negotiable for me. And what other advice would you give to a recovering people pleaser? Because all of us this year, we're just trying to remove these residuals so we could be set free, okay? So 2025, we could end it fully set free. If you watch until the end, leave a blue and a white heart in the comments so I know you watched until the end, and I will see you in the next one. Mwah.